Cleveland ISD educators. I'm Bianca, here with some specific curriculum and instruction news. Hi, I'm Piggy Hambone. We are here to talk about how to write content and language objectives the Cleveland ISD way. Today we are talking about the district standard for the Cleveland ISD learning objectives. What is the purpose of a learning objective? First and foremost, the learning objective focuses the purpose of the lesson for not only the teachers, but most importantly, the students. It helps the students see a clear connection for what they are doing in class to what they are learning in their classrooms. And lastly, our language objectives outline the type of language that the students will need to both learn and use in order to accomplish the goals of today's lesson. So let's do a couple of things. Let's look at the structure of the CISD standard for our two parts, content and language objectives. The content objective is what the students are learning, what we as educators are teaching. Essentially, these are the TEKs that are being taught. The second part is considered our language objective. Students will use speaking and writing stems as comprehensible output with intentionally embedded academic language. What we are doing here is that the teacher provides a sentence stem that will be used to promote students speaking and writing as evidence of their learning. What does this look like in our classrooms? First, the teacher will display the content objective in words of the student. We will, followed by what the students will be learning. Next, they're going to post the language objective. The teacher will provide a sentence stem with intentionally embedded academic language for students to use in their speaking and writing. So you're probably wondering, what does that look like in my content area? Let's take a look. Yeah. Let's take a look at this ELAR example. First, we have the content objective. We will determine the central idea and key details in a text. Taking a look at this content objective, this is what the students will be learning. This content objective is modeled after the TEK that is being targeted or delivered. The language objective. The central idea of the text is 3 supporting details from the text are, and this is comprehensible output. So students are expected to write or speak using both of these sentence stems. To write an authentic, language-rich content and language objective, the two need to be mirrored. So let's take a look at this. From the content objective, you have the words central idea and key detail. Those are our targeted and intentional vocabulary words. So somewhere in our language objective, our students should be required to use that academic language as part of their speaking and writing. Let's take a look at another example. This is also an ELAR example. This is more of a secondary example. The content objective, we will identify and analyze how an author uses a character's dialogue to develop the plot. The language objective is mirrored after it, using the words character dialogue and plot as part of the embedded academic language. The character's dialogue reveals the character's quality of blank to advance the plot by blank. So here, these key vocabulary words, this key academic language, if it's embedded in the content objective, it should be used in the language objective for speaking and writing on behalf of the students. Let's take a look at a science example. The content objective, we will compare and contrast potential and kinetic energy. If you notice in the language objective, the words potential and kinetic energy are part of the sentence stem that's being provided for students. 3 examples of, and the students are to embed the word potential or kinetic energy in one of the blanks. Finally, let's look at a math example. The content objective, we will represent equivalent decimals and fractions. The key words or the academic language that we want to focus in on, equivalent decimals and fractions. So when our students are speaking, they should be using the words equivalent, decimals, and fractions as part of their teacher-provided sentence stem. Let's take a look at it. The language objective. The decimal and fractions are equivalent because the decimals and fractions are not equivalent because. As teachers are crafting these language objectives or the sentence stems they're going to be using, they should be using open-ended questions where students have to use critical thinking skills to analyze and explain their thinking. What we want to steer away from is one-word answered sentence stems. So now we are all in sync about what a Cleveland ISD content and language objective looks like, aren't we, Bianca? We sure are. Speaking of in sync, it's tearing up my heart when I'm with you. No. All right, Cleveland ISD educators, get those content and language objectives on those boards in the Cleveland ISD way. See you soon. Yeah!